Hooray, another River House workday. Mom and Dad came back out again for an action-packed day of pushing big rocks and wrangling rat crap. Fun for all ages. Tickets at the door. You know, I really should make a video of Dad's trailer one day. Homemade. Works a slick treat. So today's the day we're doing a little exploratory pushing. Just to get an idea how much rock is here. Quick hint, a lot. So we just finished kind of an access road so we can get up on top. That's where the real experimenting is going to take place. Because in my wildest pipe dreams, the house will be up there by that big fir. I don't think that's coming to fruition, but by gosh, we'll give her a push. And here you can see Bluis Doggus taking a bit of a dirt swim. The reason we're moving all this dirt up here is we need to know where the bedrock is. It's this weird pocket of incredibly fine glacial silt. This property is kind of weird. It's bedrock, rock scree, and then powder. I don't know what geologic forces put it here, but we need to know what's underneath of it. And if this is going to support the house, we need to know how far down the rocks are and how much dirt we have to work with. It's like going into labor, but only if you weren't sure that you were pregnant in the first place. You never know till you give it a good hard push. It took some time. Once Dad had got a feel for how deep the silt was, the idea was to roll back all the rock scree that had slid down over the years or been deposited by the mine on top of it. Get a feeling of just how far into the slope the actual building site would continue. And it went in about 10-15 feet farther than I actually hoped it would. What I learned from the pushing, however, is that my dreams of having the house a little higher up on the hill probably not going to work out. Too much rock. And that the house is going to be a little farther out to the point than I originally figured. Although that's not tragic. Now this is out onto that point. And so, like everything else, what's underneath of it? We wanted to know how far down into this, what appeared to be a natural rock scree slope, the bedrock actually lies. And the dozer was a bit out of its element. It's a little small for this rock quarry work, though it was able to get the job done. Turns out that we ended up going down in there about 5 feet. And yeah, there's a fair bit of room there, much more than we expected, which makes it a little more possible to actually put the house out there just uphill of that big yellow pine, that big ponderosa you can see.
digging for bedrock. We know there's a piece of bedrock that sticks up right there. It's that white streak. And then kind of curious where the bedrock lies. We can find it again down there. We can't imagine this tree is sitting on 18 inches of dirt, but it's possible this big old yellow pine doesn't have any roots. We think it's really buried up the bottom. But anyways, he's looking for bedrock.
Of course, we needed a place to put all that rock, so it set up a really cool thing. Where'd we put it, Shay?
North side of the hill?
Was it fun to watch?
Yes.
How come?
Because you almost got squished.
Was it fun to watch me almost get squished?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that was stupid. But that little spot right there done saved me. I didn't get touched.
And maybe after Grandpa's done moving those rocks, maybe we could help ourselves moving the rocks. Because those rocks are away from that juniper tree.
You think so?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Watch me do a frisbee. Wow.
So I make a comment about how dumb it was to stand there, and then I didn't actually get out of the way.
What did we learn? Well, this is not a natural scree slope. This is clearly tailings or blasting rock or whatever. It's fairly uniform, lighter chunks, brick sized or whatnot. And it's deep. We don't know how deep it is. Dad dug down about, 5-6 feet. And then we figured there's no point in making a great big hole. That's good. That's good for us. I can work on top of some bedrock, and our foundations can go over bedrock and certainly be tied to bedrock and stuff like that. We just know we needed, some depth for a crawl space without pushing the house 8 feet above ground level on some sort of huge, wonky daylight basement you couldn't actually use because it's full of big bedrock boulders. Regardless, we're not after the Taj Mahal up here. Don't want it, can't afford it. We just needed room for a house if one was ever going to be built up here. It's down the road. It's a dream. And there's room. There's room. The ground will let us. Might need a bigger cat to do the pushing, but yeah, we can fit her in there. Before we were done pushing rock for the day, we wanted to know what was on the other side of that big yellow pine. There is some evidence that the bedrock might have risen back up to the surface. We also wanted to know just how deep the yellow pine had been buried, since we knew that this was now a non-natural, rock tailings kind of pile. How deep the pine tree was buried would give us an idea of just how far down the original ground level was. Turns out it's down there quite a ways. Again, works in our favor. It's a fair bit of material to move, but it does mean the building site is big enough.
Oh, look how deep that yellow pine, that ponderosa, is buried. Has to have been buried 3 feet or better, 4 feet. He's trying to take it down to the level of the glacial till. All this crushed stuff on the top is from the mining company. Them disposing of stuff. And they just buried that tree. It doesn't matter, we're probably going to take that tree out. In fact, there's a substantial number of my floor joists right there in the needle, so to speak. So what do we find today? Well, we think this stuff here goes down to that level down there. That's a plunging bit of bedrock that dives off like a sawtooth and then dives off again. There's a bedrock ramp right there, and that right in there, you can see the white. That's bedrock too. So if we were going to get a house up here, I mean, you can always anchor the foundation to bedrock. Yeah, we wouldn't be able to bring the land down quite as far as we would like. You know, take it off right there. Set the house up in here with that view. Granted, we'll take some of the trees down. Found an old water line up here. Must have been the system to the cistern. And it went up the hill to where the spring is. That I hope to tap in for a power spout. That's what I'd like to try. Got to see how much water I can get out of it year round. But Lord knows I got the drop. Right in there we hit bedrock. This is down 4 or 5 feet and it's just more of the spill.
One of the last things to do before I took the dozer home that evening was mess around where the septic tank field is going to be. And this entire property, the only place we can really put the septic tank field, unless we're willing to re-drill the well, and at about 17 grand we're really not willing to re-drill the well, is to down here below the old cabin. So in order to save me some money when I have a local gentleman dig it in for me, we are going to go ahead and clear this bit of ground. There was a well casing sticking up and we were really afraid there was some sort of mystery third well or a cistern underneath there. Luckily it really just turned out to be a piece of old well casing pipe that they were using as a post, so no one drove over their water spigot. We then drove over their water spigot. I really lamented the loss of this maple tree, because it now means the neighbors and I stare directly into each other's windows. You know, if we ever inhabit that older rat-strewn cabin. But it had to go down. I mean, you can't have a maple growing right at the edge of your drain field. That's just asking to have your lines plugged with roots. So down she went. Would have been awesome if I'd remembered to bring a chainsaw, but it turns out that the bulldozer is adequate. We really wanted to get that stump out of the ground, but it's just anchored too well in the rocks. I'll have to come back and take care of it later. Also on the chopping block, unfortunately, was this small yellow pine. But, well, I won't say unfortunately. Even in my best options, I was pulling this thing down. We were able to grab it high enough and the trunk was strong enough that when she came over, it pulled the stump. Well, that was nice. Because I think the old cistern is just uphill of it. And I really didn't want that thing to collapse. Not until at least we've got an actual septic system. The septic for the cabin there is grandfathered in, is what they call it around here. No one has any idea what it is, but it is still legally usable. The new house, of course, will require a permitted system. If we end up building the new house, it'll be for the big house, and if we don't, well, then we'll swap the cabin over. Just as the sun was setting, we moved some of these big, car-sized rocks out of the way, because this is where the septic tank will end up if we end up building the large house up on the top of the hill. How close did that camera come to dying? So that was it. That was the end of an action-packed, a rock and rollin' day. We learned a few things. We learned that the house really can't probably go exactly where my pipe dream would put it, but that there is a very valid spot that it could in fact go. And we were able to clear off the septic tank drain field, get a better idea of where it would be. And of course it looks much, much larger now, which I think will help when it comes time to dig it out. Overall, it was a good day, and I really appreciate Mom and Dad coming down for what amounts to the third weekend work day in a row, and of course Dad for hauling his toy all those miles to shove my rocks around. If you enjoy this project, I hope you follow it. I think we've decided to call this the River House. It sounds fancy and sophisticated. Be sure to check out the rest of those videos, and I've made a playlist called The River House that you can link to in the description below. Check out our ongoing War of the Rats, which, judging from the new turds inside, they've mounted a new assault. Regardless, appreciate you watching. Give her a like, a thumbs up if you so choose, and always subscribe.